Tonight's snow crab season is open, but boats are still tied up and harvesters are blaming the Premier.
The FFAW says the Premier has failed to keep his promise to fix the crab fishery.
If the Premier had announced the Blackwood formula, harvesters would be fishing today and plant workers would be working in plants.
We'll have more later in the show.
Cover itself is made of the blue ice granite that comes from Labrador. Pleasure to do it, but for the people of Newfoundland, it's been an honor.
Well, the pieces are quite literally coming together. Meet the team assembling the tomb of the unknown soldier.
I feel like a lot of my religion I don't get to practice as well or to the extent I would like to. So each is just a time to get together and show that I am Muslim and I am proud.
Thousands of Muslims across Newfoundland and Labrador are celebrating Eid. We'll take you to some of this morning's events.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin with the fishery. The union representing fish harvesters in this province wants Premier Andrew Furey to fix the crab fishery. An ongoing dispute over price and market share means the crab season has failed to start on time for the second year in a row. The FFAW says a report the province commissioned holds the answer, but the current arrangement with fish processors doesn't follow that report's recommendations. Here and Now's Mark Quinn has more.
The system is broken. There is no question about that.
The crab season opened in some parts of the province on Saturday, but crab fishing boats remain tied up. The union says harvesters are refusing to fish for the price and market share that they're now being offered. The FFAW says the current arrangement favors the Association of Seafood Producers to the detriment of harvesters.
All we're left with is the ASP position, which is actually tied to nothing. It's not tied to a market. It's tied to what they consider they can get a fishery going on. Well, they were wrong.
The union says following the recommendations of the Blackwood report that was released by the province would result in a fair arrangement for crab harvesters, a higher price and a larger market share for them. And the FFAW says it's up to Premier Andrew Furey to make that happen.
Make no mistake about it. The Premier didn't deliver on his promise to mandate the Blackwood report. In doing so, this government has failed the business community of Newfoundland and Labrador, failed rural Newfoundland, has failed to protect plant workers' jobs, and failed to fix this for harvesters in 2024.
Currently, there is no plan for harvesters to start crab fishing. The FFAW says it's willing to return to the bargaining table to seek an arrangement they can accept. The Association of Seafood Producers did not respond today. It has scheduled a news conference for tomorrow morning. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, World Energy GH2 says concerned communities can trust the company to construct a wind-to-hydrogen mega project on the West Coast that will create upwards of 4,200 jobs.
Every tiny little bit we can do, and we're all responsible for that, every one of us, to make sure that there is protection for the environment. So when we find that, we have to use that.
We're in a unique position on a global scale. We have the potential to be one of the first commercial-scale green hydrogen projects to deliver green hydrogen to the world. So it's hugely significant.
Well, Chief Michel Joe of the Mi'apukek First Nation is a strategic advisor for World Energy GH2. He joined CEO Sean Leet at today's media event. The company says a logistics study will determine how best to construct the turbines and transport them to the West Coast. Leet says they'll also need a large local workforce, and that's good news for the chief of Benoit First Nation, who sees the wind farm as an opportunity to keep young people close to home.
Young people that are graduating now that can go to college, university, get a training, and work here. And I can tell you that most people, not all people, but most grandparents right now, they want to go visit their grandkids, their great-grandkids, they got to leave the island, get on a plane. It does bode well for a future human presence in our communities because our populations have been shrinking continually at least since the 70s. So, and we need to turn that around.
Well, there is strong opposition from EnviroWatch NL, a grassroots group dedicated to safeguarding the province's land and waters. Spokesperson and renewable energy expert Nick Mercer takes issue with the mega project being called green, saying converting wind to hydrogen is a long and wasteful process. He doesn't feel the community concerns are being heard.
What's so damaging about this is that it doesn't seem to matter what the community thinks. It doesn't seem to matter how staunchly communities have stood against these things. There's no democracy associated with these types of projects. So even if 80 to 90% of the people who have to live with the risks are saying no means no, we don't want it here. Corporations have the legislative vehicles to seemingly ram this down the throats of communities. So I don't see this as green economic development. I see this as an invasion of the Port-au-Port Peninsula.
Mercer also calls it a fairy tale industry, saying there's a reason why we don't see these projects elsewhere in the world. And we're not done with the story yet. More on next steps for the mega project, as well as criticism from those who don't think it will get off the ground. That's ahead in 30 minutes on Here and Now. Well, the final numbers are in. Newfoundland and Labrador now knows the impact of a federal cap on new international student permits for undergrads. As the CBC's Rob Antle reports, government is expecting a modest increase in the number, but there are questions about how that calculation was made.
There are thousands of international students at Memorial University, hundreds more at College of the North Atlantic.
I am announcing.
So this announcement in January sparked concern about the future.
A temporary 2-year cap on new international student permits.
The federal immigration minister explained how that would work.
In the spirit of fairness, we are also allocating the cap space by province based on population.
Officials here thought that approach would mean a big boost in the numbers for this province. Turns out that's not the case.
We're gaining just a little less than a couple of hundred over last year, but by and large, for practical purposes, we're pretty well treading water. We're staying still.
That's because Ottawa capped the maximum increase in undergraduate students at 10% for any province, including Newfoundland and Labrador. Ottawa announced the cap to ease pressure on housing and health care, and to stop institutions elsewhere from taking advantage of international students.
It is not the intention of this program to have sham commerce degrees or business degrees that are sitting on top of a massage parlor that someone doesn't even go to.
Standing still.
The provincial immigration minister says that's not a problem here, and this province could be part of the solution.
When you have a jurisdiction like our province, which is acting responsibly, which will continue to act responsibly.
Burns says there's a highly regulated environment here, something he believes could help Ottawa meet its national objectives. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
We return now to day 3 of the trial for a local lawyer accused of sexual assault. The sole complainant says time and trauma prevented her from remembering specific details. But the defense for Robert Regular argues the woman isn't telling the truth. Today, the court heard of yet another investigation, one involving allegations against an RNC officer. Here Now's Ariana Kelland explains.
It was another morning of Rosellen Sullivan chipping away at the woman's story and credibility. The complainant, who's now in her mid-30s, appeared dejected, keeping her head down and her voice low. Sullivan brought up an incident in 2012 when the woman was arrested for stealing beer and later called lawyer Robert Regular for help. In a statement to RNC Constable Nicole Piercy, the woman had said she remembered it was winter at the time and it was cold, and that she did stay at the store until police arrived. But Sullivan produced a weather report for that October day showing warm temperatures and a police report saying that the woman had in fact left the scene. And this is the way the cross-examination has gone, hammering out details, comparing statements, allegations that the woman has fabricated facts. Quite a bit of time today was spent quizzing her about a table in Robert Regular's office a decade ago, about the layout of of the office the location of a boardroom where she says one of the assaults happened. But the woman insists she's telling the truth, that the lawyer sexually assaulted her, at one point saying, "I don't remember how many bookshelves were in the room or the details of the room, but I do remember the assault." Now, Robert Regular hired a private investigator to help with his defense. It was a retired RNC officer, and today the court heard that his PI had spoken with the woman's mother and sister, learned that at 15, the woman began a romantic relationship with a police officer. That prompted another investigation, this time by CERT, the province's police watchdog. But it's not an investigation the woman says she wanted to take part in. She says it's a private matter and did not want the officer charged. But she did give two statements, and for the defense, Sullivan compared those and said her stories didn't add up. The woman said she didn't want to paint the full picture, she didn't want to talk to CERT, and she said that she had felt pressured. Now, this CERT report released last April found there were, quote, major inconsistencies in the woman's stories, and the officer was never charged. In an email to CBC News today, CERT Director Mike King said he couldn't comment on the case, but said their approach is to not pressure a complainant to take part in an investigation and for the individual to have control as to whether their complaint is even investigated or not. Now, Robert Regular's accuser finished on the stand today just before lunchtime. The Crown has about a handful of witnesses to go before the case is wrapped. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Good evening, Heather Gillis, and with your weather tonight, I'll be in for the rest of this hours or so. We will see a pretty nice day tomorrow, but some rain moving in. Look at this. Over the next little while, talking about the weather that is on the way. It's going to be cloudy with a chance of flurries for the eastern half of the island tonight. Things are going to be clearing out in Labrador, leaving behind a nice sunny day for most of the province tomorrow. Taking a look at the future tracker now, you can see fairly clear skies here in western Labrador, and things are going to clear out more. And then this is the band of flurries that is going to be our weather maker in the overnight, flowing over the Bonavista, Burin Peninsula, and parts of the Avalon. We'll talk about all of that a little later in the show.
Thanks, Heather. Well, the Forestry Department is warning people in Happy Valley Goose Bay there could be a wolf prowling the area. The department is asking people to take appropriate steps to avoid attracting wolves, like keeping pets inside or under close supervision and properly storing garbage. Now, if you do encounter a wolf, the advice is to not approach it and make sure to give it an escape route. If the animal approaches, it's best to be loud and act aggressively, and then back away slowly. Do not run away. Any sightings in Happy Valley Goose Bay should be reported to the wildlife office there. Those numbers are 897-8479 or after hours at 897-7116. Well, a portion of the tomb of the unknown soldier has been delivered to the National War Memorial in St. John's. The tomb is made from 3,600 kilograms of black granite from Quebec and put together by Nova Scotia-based company Heritage Memorials. On July 1st, it will become the final resting place of an unknown First World War soldier.
It's been a big challenge. The design of it is a challenging design. We have a lot of very sophisticated CNC equipment, but it's still, to make things fit and make all the pieces is very challenging. And the time constraint, we were brought into it late in the stages, so we were under quite a time constraint. But then there's still decisions that don't get made until you're in the middle of production. So we, as much as we were geared up to have this done probably a month ago, it still was delayed into this point. So the tomb itself, the part that you see there in black, is about 8,000 pounds. The cover itself is probably 2,400 pounds, and it has to get lifted manually, basically. It's a much more difficult installation to do the cover. The actual installation of that isn't until after the ceremony on July 1st. So.
And what's it going to look like? I mean, for anyone who not familiar, many people have probably been to Ottawa, seen the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier there. Will it look just like that, or will it be different? Just paint a picture for us.
It'll be fairly similar. The cover itself is made of the blue eyes granite that comes from Labrador itself. And it's a very beautiful stone, and it'll be polished with a lot of different angles on it. So it'll catch the light. It'll be a very interesting piece. Within a week or two, we'll have the cover done, and the other pieces are all pretty well done now. So within a month, we'll have everything delivered.
Your company's done tens of thousands of projects. You're standing right now in the shadow of a monument that's been here 100 years. It's hard to rank any project you do, but how does it feel to do this particular project?
This is probably one of the top. I mean, we've certainly done some very large projects and unique designs, things that nobody else has done before. This would probably be the top one as far as the significance of it to the whole country, really. It's been a pleasure to do it, but for the people of Newfoundland, it's been an honor.
Well, thousands of Muslims gathered this morning for prayer at the Technoplex in St. John's. It's the beginning of Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of the fasting month of Ramadan. Eid is normally a time of celebration, but this year the mood was somber.
Today we are celebrating the Eid prayer after Ramadan. As you can tell, the amount of people here, it's very packed. It's pretty important to us because after a whole month of fasting, praying, and like worshiping every single day and night, it's like a good experience. It's good to like come here and then enjoy Eid prayer with all our loved ones and family here.
So this is my favorite time in the year, getting to see all my friends and community members just coming all together to worship and also socialize, meet each other after all the hard work we've done this month. So after prayer, I usually tend to go out with my family, go see a few family friends. We like to go get like a meal afterwards. So it's usually a fun day. We get to see some friends in the evening, and the girls like to change their outfits throughout the day, so you might see me in like 3 different outfits on this day. For me, living in this society, I feel like a lot of my religion I don't get to practice as well or to the extent I would like to. So each is just a time to like get together and show that I am Muslim and I am proud.
We have 2 Eids in Islam, so the big one and the small one. So today we're celebrating technically the smaller one. It's called Eid al-Fitr. It's the one that comes right after Ramadan. And Ramadan, just our holy month that we spend 30 days of fasting. And then our second Eid is Eid al-Adha, which will happen sometime early in the summertime. Today, what will happen during the services, we have people coming in from all over the island. We have to come in and we'll pray as a community and just to catch up with each other. So we'll have our prayer, and then we'll have a little lecture that our Imam gives.
So Eid is all about, happiness. But our hearts and minds and souls are with the people of Gaza, the children, the elderly, the patients, and a lot of people, thousands of people who have died, and 2.2 million people at the verge of dying because of hunger and starvation, which is totally opposite to what we are going through, what we are actually having here. We had good food, we had everything. But every single time I have seen families mentioning it, talking about it, praying for them, that because we have good food and everything, and those people are hardly having any dried morsel for themselves.
Allahu Akbar.
And this was the Eid celebration in Wabush this morning. There's no mosque there, so the Muslim community in Labrador West rented a space for their prayer. The group says it hopes to build a permanent mosque there soon.
It's the only microbrewery in Labrador, and for the past 5 years, Iron Rock Brewing Company has been serving the folks of Labrador West. And now with COVID slowly in the rear-view mirror, the company has its sights set on the future, which means more beer and more visibility. Now, if this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
A lot of planning and effort over about
18 months or 2 years, and here we are sitting in this building now, having our own space with a big distribution network, and here we are heading towards 5 years of operation.
I'm going to say it was my idea to make beer. It was maybe his idea to make a business. The process starts here at our malt mill, and we'll actually feed our grain into the malt mill, and it'll get conveyed up and into our mash tun. The early vision was nowhere near the scale it is now, but to be able to look at what we've created, and I take it for granted a lot of times, and you know, it really brings me into retrospect to speak to, you know, people from outside the community. When they come in, they say like, oh my God, you know, what a beautiful place. And then, you know, it kind of gives me a second to look at it and say, you know what, this is something we put a lot of hard work into, and you know, it gives me a different level of appreciation.
A lot of folks travel for experiences and products like we're able to offer here today, and we know that we hear it a lot less, that certain things, and not just our own business, are too nice to be in Labrador West. And we've gotten away from that, and people know that they deserve great amenities and great products and great experiences here in town.
Bell Island during the early 40s and 50s was an iron ore mine, known for its high grade of crude ore. It basically helped fuel the economy, you know, after the Great Depression. To be able to, you know, use the name Iron Rock really makes it tying our two lives together, and being able to kind of pay homage to our hometown.
We have seen people from Germany, we've seen people from Belgium, we've seen people from the States, Texas, we've had people come from Alaska. This summer we had a couple who were doing National Geographic's work, and they popped in for a pint.
So if we're going to package the product, we'll actually use this machine here. It's our canning line.
At the moment, labeled one at a time. That's one of the big investments that we're putting in this year, is to put a bit more of a tunnel style or conveyor belt style labeler. But our packaging line here is run, and we just finished a packaging run yesterday of our 20-hour Blue Raspberry Sour, which is quite popular across the province.
This is where we can try different projects, or we can do some wild fermentation beers.
Our goal this year is to go from craft beer to local beer. Some folks think craft beer is not for them. We think that there is a beer for everyone. We hope the population of Lab West doubles in the next 5 to 10 years, and that we can grow our business and grow our representation here in the province. We want to grow our footprint and be just as normal to see on the shelf as some of the other larger microbreweries here in the province.
Come in, let go, surrender, find breath, leave the struggle, leave the survival mode, and come to a place of peace.
Still to come, processing grief through yoga poses. We'll drop by a class that's teaching people a different way to cope.
Current highs today, not too bad, but it looks like they will get warmer tomorrow. We'll have that up next.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The bonus prize deadline is midnight, Friday, April 12th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Hi, Heather. Nice to see you back here doing the weather with us. And I know we've had a stretch of some kind of gray, cold weather, but things are turning around, right?
A little bit. Tomorrow looks like it's going to be a pretty nice day, especially after we woke up to all that snow on Monday and had a little bit yesterday as well. We'll have a slight reprieve just for a little bit before the gray moves back in. But first, let's take a look at today's highs. Across the island today, not a bad day. The warm spot, Burgeo, around the freezing mark or a little warmer by a degree or two in the east. And in Labrador, a nice day in Happy Valley Goose Bay and Labrador City Wabush, temperature-wise, and a couple of degrees along the coast for the most part. Things dropping back now by a degree or two on the island as we get into the evening hours, but temperatures haven't really budged much in Labrador. Taking a look at our future tracker now, we've got clear skies in Lab West and some cloud over parts of central and southern Labrador. We've got some cloud here in the east and a band of flurries that's going to affect the north coast of the island and then move on down to the three peninsulas, the Bonavista, the Burin, and the Avalon. We could see a chance of flurries in the overnight tonight and this evening as well. As we go into tomorrow, look at this. Things are going to clear out and we're going to have an absolutely lovely day, except for in Lab City Wabush. You're going to see some of this cloud move in, and then throughout the day, it's going to start to push in through the rest of Labrador. Taking a look at our temperatures tonight for the island, everything is going to be freezing. -2, -3 in the east, where we see that chance of flurries. A little cooler where skies are clearer for the southwest and west coast, for Port aux Basques and Corner Brook and up into St. Anthony. You could see a flurry or a raindrop there. We'll have clear skies in Labrador West with those cooler temperatures. Light winds between -10 and -9 for Lab City, and Happy Valley Goose Bay between -6 and -9 for the coast, where on the south coast you're going to see the winds pick up, and we could have some winds and being gusty throughout central tonight, up to 50, 20 to 40 elsewhere from the north and northwest on the island. Taking a look at the future tracker again, when we wake up tomorrow, the eastern half of the island, we'll see some cloudy skies, but things will improve and we'll have some nice temperatures. That we'll show you now in just a moment, and we'll see this cloud start to move back over Labrador throughout the day, and see some cloud late in the night, early Friday morning, before we get some of that rain there. When we talk about the winds now, winds fairly light for Labrador tonight, and then we see some winds for eastern parts of the island and central there as well. Tomorrow, lovely day. Look at this. For the Avalon, our temperatures are going to be about 4 degrees. It's going to be mostly sunny after that cloud moves on out. Marystown, Burin Peninsula, some sun and cloud for you folks. 7 degrees tomorrow. Cooler along the coast, though. Same thing for Bonavista, a degree warmer with a little bit more sun for you folks. Cool on the coast as well, though. But as we move into central, look at this, 8, 9 degrees for central with some sun and cloud for you folks. Tomorrow, we're going to have a lovely day, and our normal temperatures around this time of year are about 5 degrees, so we're going to be a little bit above normal right here in central in the interior. Along the coast, though, Harbour Breton, 3 degrees, and up in Twillingate on the north coast of the island, cooler again. So that's that cooler on the coast that I was just talking about. Lovely day for the west coast as well. Temperatures between 6 and 8 degrees, a little warmer in the interior in the Humber Valley, and cooler for Burgeo because you were on the coast. As we head up to the northern peninsula, it's a little bit of a mixed bag temperature-wise here. Port aux Choix and Lancelot, 3, 4 degrees, but warmer, 7, 8, 9 for St. Anthony, Mary's Harbour, and Cartwright. Lots of sun for you folks before that cloud moves back in. We see a little bit more cloud here for Labrador City. We could see a raindrop or a flurry there for you folks at 6 degrees. Sun and cloud pretty well everywhere else. Look at that, 10 degrees into the double digits for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Looking like a beautiful day for you folks. We'll talk about your long range and get into the weekend later in the show.
Returning now to that major announcement for the West Coast, World Energy GH2 has gotten the green light to push forward with its wind to hydrogen mega project. It will see over 300 wind turbines dot the Port-au-Port Peninsula and Codroy Valley, and according to the company, create upwards of 4,200 jobs.
In the 1960s, the government came down to our area, neck of the woods, and they flooded mass pieces of our land. Not only the land, but also artifacts and burial grounds that belong to our people. From the 60s to now, when you look at what the federal government have done and World Energy, it's an incredible stretch to see what's been done in terms of the environment. And as Aboriginal people in Newfoundland and the country, we're always looking for something magic in terms of the environment. And this is a magic marker that we've seen that's going to help with the environment moving forward. Every little bit, every tiny little bit we can do, and we're all responsible for that, every one of us, to make sure that there is protection for the environment. So when we find that, we have to use that. So that's where we are right now.
Give any details with regards to construction schedule or when shovels could start, could get in the ground?
So we're still digesting the announcement yesterday. There's some conditions, as you're well aware of, and we're digesting those as well. What we can tell you is we're on track for final investment decision in early 2025.
Can you talk about some of the local benefits of the project? We've heard criticism from people in Port-au-Port, for instance, who say that it's a project where energy is going to be exported. Most of the jobs are going to be located in Stephenville. These are criticisms that we've heard over and over again. Can you outline kind of what is promised for that region in particular, for those local communities?
I mean, the benefits are going to be significant. The reality is there's not going to be enough resources, and that's human resources and companies available to do all the work that's required to stand up to this industry. And I'm not just speaking about our project, but there's other exciting projects alongside of ours as well. So we need everybody to be able to participate to make this a reality. So the benefits will be immeasurable, and that'll start with our Community Vibrancy Fund, which you've seen us announce over the past year, and will continue beyond that.
You're setting this up in a province that has been burned by energy projects in the past. I wonder, why should people trust you?
We're from here. I live in St. John's. We're an Atlantic Canadian team. And a team of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. Our office is here on the 6th floor of this building. We're here to build a project that the community, the province, and the country will be proud of.
Well, as you heard earlier, a group of citizens have expressed many concerns with the West Coast mega project. Spokesperson and renewable energy expert Nick Mercer calls the wind farm a fairy tale industry. He's with the group EnviroWatch NL.
I'm not surprised that it was approved first and foremost, but that doesn't mean that we are not disheartened because of the decision. So for months, if not years now, scholarship, research, advocacy has been trying to stress the differences between what constitutes a renewable source of energy versus what constitutes a sustainable source of energy. And regardless of whether or not this project has passed through the Environmental Assessment Act, we're of the position that it does not represent a sustainable source of energy for a multitude of reasons.
Why is this not a green project?
Well, oh boy, where do we begin? One thing that I really take issue with is the embedded inefficiencies that are associated with green hydrogen projects. And for this reason, I think green hydrogen is a bit of a misdemeanor. It doesn't exist. What's green about it is that it's produced from so-called green sources of energy like wind power, solar power, hydroelectricity. But what that doesn't account for is how wasteful the process is in and of itself, nor the impacts of the production of green energy technologies. So the way that you reduce electricity losses, energy losses, is that the point of consumption is as close as possible to the point of production. This means that electricity doesn't have to travel a long distance. It doesn't have to go through transmission lines. It doesn't have to be converted from one source to another. So if you can put, a couple wind turbines in the middle of the Port-au-Port Peninsula and then feed them directly to homes and communities, it's not a wasteful process at all, just standard losses. But with green hydrogen, I mean, this is a really complicated process that hasn't been really done anywhere in the world, where first you're taking the energy of the wind, you're converting that to hydrogen, you're converting hydrogen to ammonia, you're putting ammonia in ships, you're sending those ships all around the world. And then if you're going to use it as energy, you're converting it back to hydrogen. And some of the literature we've read has suggested that as much as 80% of the potential energy is lost when you go through this complex process. So, that's 4/5 of the energy that you're inputting is gone. And if you applied this logic to any other natural resource, I don't think Newfoundlanders and Labradorians would ever stand for it. So if 80% of the timber we were harvesting was wasted, if 80% of the cod we were catching was wasted, if 80% of the oil we were pulling from the ground was wasted, I don't think Newfoundlanders and Labradorians would ever stand for it.
Nick, do you really think that this is ever going to happen?
Well, I think there's a reason that we don't see these projects elsewhere in the world right now. I think it's a speculative industry. I think it's a fairy tale industry. I think the goal of many of these corporations is to harvest the largest amount of subsidies they possibly can to make them viable. But on their own terms, I certainly don't think they're viable today.
A yoga studio in St. John's has created a class to help people deal with overwhelming emotions. It's called Yoga for Grief. CBC's Arlette Lazarenko went to Bodhi Hot Yoga Studio to find out more.
We created an event to give people a safe place to come in, let go, surrender, find breath, leave the struggle, leave the survival mode, and come to a place of peace.
Catapulting event was the loss of my emotional support dog. She was 12 and a half years old and she just passed away January 3rd. It kind of just made me go back over my life and look at my personal grief journey up until this point. So with working in a job with a lot of trauma, and I realized that I dealt with a lot of grief firsthand.
Who are the people that show up that you notice?
Gosh. Everybody. There's no age, there's no gender, there's no one limited, we'll say. There's no one forgotten about in stressors, right? Everybody deals with stress. Everybody deals with compassion fatigue and trauma and PTSD and anxiety at some point or another.
People who are overwhelmed with emotions, maybe with grief or trauma, and they can't get to the studio, what can they do?
Be comfortable, so you feel comfortable now in the seated position. Being low to the earth grounds you. Sitting with a nice straight spine, so you feel strong but yet gentle, right? So you sit yourself up in comfort, and then you have to realize your brain, it thinks all day long. It's made to think. So you're never gonna have no thought. Thoughts are inevitable. It's just about creating a little gap between the thought. And as you try, those gaps may move from 1 minute, or 1 second rather, to 1 minute, right? It's not about the destination, you want to feel your way. So don't judge it. Don't judge it. Don't say it has to be a certain way for me to be meditating. Just sit in a comfortable sit. Start to relax the body. Come to the breath. Your breath brings you into the present moment. When you're focused on the inhale and the exhale, you have no other thoughts. The racing and thinking mind starts to disappear. As you focus to breath, the body will start to relax. The blood pressure lowers, the breath lowers, the brain waves slow. The body comes into a calm place of being, and that little space between the thought will grow.
Just giving yourself permission to feel whatever it is that you feel is really important, and not push it down, because I think that's a lot of times what we do. We're not asking you to forget the loved one. We're not asking you to move past that. We're just asking you to help move through the pain and suffering, to release that in an effort to find more connection and love. So it's not about forgetting. It's not about, you know, moving on or getting over. It's nothing to do with that. It's just about finding peace for yourself. And in an effort to do that, we have to help, you know, do what we can, and that's to move the emotions through the body.
Well, to Nova Scotia now, where nearly 1,000 fishermen in Canada's biggest lobster fishing district will vote on whether to increase the minimum legal size of lobster they catch. Harvesters in southwestern Nova Scotia will decide if they will match an increase coming south of the border. The American size increase was automatically triggered by surveys in the Gulf of Maine showing declines in young lobster. At stake is maintaining access to the United States market. Heather Mullock is with the Cold Water Lobster Association.
So what we did, we looked at a 10-year average to see what percentage of their catch would be impacted. So if license holders in LFA 34 voted today that they would match that first increment from 82.5 to 84 millimeters, it would affect approximately 11 to 15% of their catch. And the lobsters that they would throw back into the water that particular year, they would be large enough to be caught that following season, that next December. But for LFA 34, which is the largest lobster fishing area in Canada, 979 license holders, we are a live market. We do have to look at this and take it seriously. 39% of our market is the U.S. for Canadian lobster, so it's something we have to look at. But it's not an easy decision.
And that vote for Lobster Fishing Area 34 is expected to happen in late May or early June. Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is testifying today at the public inquiry into foreign interference. It's looking into allegations of meddling by the Chinese government in the last 2 federal elections. Trudeau says the Liberal government started their mandate in 2015, intending to strengthen Canada's national security institutions.
We did that by the creation of National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians. We also combined a number of oversight organizations into NCIRA, which is a more judicial or academic or high-level oversight of our national security agencies, as well as, as we began to govern, strengthened our various national security and intelligence agencies and tools. One of the things I did is I changed our national security advisor to a national security and intelligence advisor, because it's not just about security, and obviously the work around intelligence was getting more and more complex and important in part of keeping Canadians safe.
Well, Ottawa is bracing for a repeat of last year's devastating and record-breaking wildfire season. Officials say a warm winter and ongoing drought have created an above-normal fire risk from Quebec to BC.
Early projections for 2024 indicate the potential for early and above normal fire activity over the spring months as a result of ongoing drought, warmer than normal temperatures, and drier than normal forecasts.
Wildfires burned more than 15 million hectares of land and forced 230,000 people from their homes last year. Ottawa says it's working with First Nations and provincial and territorial governments to provide better equipment and better training to prevent and fight wildfires. time for a look at the long-range forecast and looking ahead to the weekend on Friday. How is it going to look as we head into the weekend?
Well, it is going to get warmer, especially on Saturday.
Great.
But there's a but. Of course, there's a but. We should see some showers for many parts of the island.
Good for the plants.
Good for the plants. Maybe wash away some of the snow that we got on Monday or what's left sticking around.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. So this is Thursday evening. We talked about that clearing that we're going to see on Thursday and then the cloud moving back in over Lab West earlier in the show. So this is what it's going to look like Thursday evening. And then we've got more cloud moving over Lab West. And then behind it comes all of this, which is eventually going to bring some showers to the province, starting with Labrador and southern Labrador. It could mix there along the Labrador-Quebec border, and then move across Newfoundland, the island, as we head into Friday and Friday evening. So here in the east, St. John's, Marystown, we'll see sun and cloud, temperatures 5-6 degrees. But as we head into central Newfoundland, things warm up a little bit with this rain, 6 to 8 degrees to Corner Brook as well. But we'll see raindrops with the increased warm temperature. A little cooler though for the Port aux Basques area, and in through the Straits we could see snow or rain there. And for coastal Labrador, Cartwright, we see some clouds. Further north in Nain, we see some sun and cloud, and cooler though with those clearer skies. Labrador City Wabush could see some showers there and some snow or some rain there for Happy Valley Goose Bay. As we move on to Friday, we see all of this moving across the island some more. Could possibly bring some snow and some mix to northern Labrador there. And then this will continue throughout Saturday evening for the island. So what we see is a lot more gray cloud icons here on the screen. We still see that mix for some places like Nain. Lab City will finally just see a cloud icon there at 7 degrees for you. It'll be a warm day in Happy Valley Goose Bay. We could see some showers for coastal Labrador and for St. Anthony along the west coast there as well, and throughout central. And we just have a cloud there for St. John's. So it'll be a pretty warm day. Normally around this time of year, temperatures for the island 4, 5, 6 degrees. So this will be 12, 13 for many places in the island. So it's going to be a warmer than normal day for us there. Time to take a look now at our 5-day forecast for eastern Newfoundland. We see Thursday is going to be a nice day. Tomorrow, 4 degrees, a little bit more cloud cover on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we could see some showers. Warm through the weekend, like I said, along with those showers. As we move into central and western Newfoundland, for central, we could see a 60% chance of showers on Friday and Saturday, and some rain on Sunday, and some clouds on Monday. Looking fairly similar for western Newfoundland. And as we go on to western Labrador, lots of gray clouds, some mixing there for you as well on Thursday and Monday. And then eastern, we see a beautiful day on Thursday, and then some more clouds and some more mixing. Speaking of Labrador, we've got a beautiful photo to leave you with.
Fantastic.
Somewhere between Happy Valley Goose Bay and Nain over the Big Land from above. And that comes to us from Connie Boland. And if you have any beautiful photos that you want to share with us, you can always do that at nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Lovely. Thank you so much for that, Connie. Gorgeous shot.
Yeah,
and that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us.
Good night.